There was a time where you didn't have to cram as much stimulation as possible into the first 30 seconds of a video in order to hook a viewer. A time where you didn't have to add all these colourful animations, texts, and jarring transitions and an enthusiastic voice in order to hold the attention of a viewer. But Alex, isn't that what you're doing right now? Yeah. But hopefully you can see I'm doing it ironically. When you have smaller channels like me watching the big channels on YouTube and copying what they're doing in their intros, you can see how I just become the problem. I keep it going by doing that. This last decade has been a cat and mouse of creators making content more stimulating and consumers wanting more stimulating content. And so we're at this place now where our standards have been raised so high in order for us to feel satisfied. I'm not speaking about every single person here, but it is the general trend for people who do consume on a somewhat regular basis, at least on modern platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, etc. Content that you may have watched 7 years ago all the way through and felt very satisfied with, maybe it was a 8-minute video, for example, might feel really hard to get through the first minute of right now. Like, that is a huge shift right there. The problem isn't the video itself. People teaching you to become a better creator will tell you that the video is the problem now because, well, people aren't watching it, right? It's what has changed inside of us individually. Collectively, it's now just so much harder to be satisfied by a video. We are the root of this, not the algorithm pushing the videos and making videos successful, because we drive the algorithm. The algorithm just takes whatever we're watching the most and rewards those videos. So collectively, all of this fast, stimulating content has raised our satisfaction levels. It is exhausting to be a content consumer in 2025, but at the same time, it's so difficult to keep our eyes off it. My point here is that the lesser stimulating videos can be just as good as the higher stimulating videos, but it just requires our attention span and how much dopamine we're using to be at, I suppose, a more normal level, which is so hard to come by now. Because the odds just aren't in our favor right now. It's really hard to intentionally pull ourselves out of the stream of content as a consumer and just say, I'm not going to do that for a while, or I'm going to have a break. It takes a level of self-control and discipline to even be able to do that. And it's not something that we have by default. It's a skill that we have to intentionally build now as a result of living in a society that is pushing this stuff and just cramming it down our throats. Because I don't know about you, but I want to enjoy slower content again. Because I want to be okay with people being slower rather than boom, 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 which I have been a little bit in this video so far. So for us creators, it means that it's harder to reach this bar of what it means to create good content. It's so much higher budget and thought through a heck of a lot more than ever before. And for consumers, it's a lot harder to be satisfied. So both ends of the spectrum have just been raised and ramped up. It's like a huge amount of these platforms are just running at 100 kilometers an hour constantly. And it can't be said for all the content, but it's a very ubiquitous feeling across a heck of a lot of modern content. Here is some good news though. Modern trends on YouTube, I think in just the last few months, have shown that people are favoring slower, more raw and more authentic content, and the algorithm is actually rewarding that too, because as stated, the algorithm will just serve whatever the people are watching for the longest. And it seems that there has been a shift in the tides because people just want to see real content again. It's like they've been just absolutely bombarded with all of this fast, high production value, colorful stuff, fast stuff for so long that they just want to feel like they're watching something real again. And the issue is that all of this fancy editing and all of this high production makes it hard for us to sometimes feel like we are connected with the content. But when it feels real, when it feels more down to earth, then it's so much easier to feel like there's less distance between us and the content or the people making it. I think a few examples of these types of videos that are doing well now are people just going about their daily lives. So gym sessions, for example, what they're doing at work, painting. I don't know. The whole point is that there's just a lot less editing. It's, I suppose, maybe a longer video, and it just feels real. This is what people are craving more now, and it's so understandable. So when we see something shot in a car like this, and the audio quality is not as good and the lighting is different, we may feel as though it's more relatable, more down to earth, but we might feel less inclined to watch because we're so used to that high quality benchmark, and anything that doesn't meet that, if it's not high production, then maybe it's not as good of a video. But some of the most helpful videos I've seen have been people just sitting in a car like this, talking to their phone about their life, being unfiltered and raw, and it didn't need all of that high production in order for it to feel like it had the impact that it had. I think that it's easier for a viewer to relate to a creator if they're sitting in a more neutral space and not in this fancy studio. And so I think that's why these kind of environments can be just as powerful. It makes sense that people are craving authentic, real content more and more and more these days. Heck, I'm one of them. I just want to feel like what I'm seeing is something that came out of the real world and was unfiltered and didn't have any kind of ulterior motives to it. For me, I create self-development type videos, so I love the idea of removing more divide between me and the viewer. But you can see if the algorithm is rewarding the most stimulating content, then it leaves us in a bit of a muddle as creators. I want to be able to grow a channel in 2025 without feeling as though I need to rely on the crutch of overstimulated content. Both creators and consumers are probably pretty sick of how soulless it all feels nowadays. And soulful content feels like more of a rarity. I hate to say it, but it's a hard feeling to come by these days. So it's great to see that YouTube is already starting to reward more authentic and raw content. I'd love to see that more, and it might mean that we can start feeling as though we can make content which isn't just so synthetic. And as a consumer, it means that you're going to feel less worn out by the content when you watch it, because it's not made to be as attention grabbing as possible all the time. It's exhausting having to watch content that has been optimized as well as possible all the time, over and over and over, and we get addicted to it and it never feels like enough. That's not what content should be. If I could choose how the world would be, I would remove all those optimizations, allow people to make what they truly want to make and feel like they can still grow their channel. So I think times are changing as people feel more of a draw to this kind of raw, authentic content that is slower. I hope it keeps going in that direction. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you later.